Hey kids, it's Jurassic James, and the Jurassic Explains looking at Megalosaurus. This is the first dinosaur named by modern science, so it's a big, big deal. I'm sure you've heard of it. And interesting enough, there's only like 3 toys of it, so I was waiting for this guy to come out to get to the story here. So first and foremost, I want to point out one of the big questions I get is why did dinosaurs in human history show up in the 1800s? Why is it that they've been here for millions of years, bones have been eroding from hillsides, and people didn't really know what they were until 1800s? The truth is that, just as that, we've seen these bones, we've interpreted them in every culture, mythologies are tied to these things, but science as we know it did not really, well, paleontology as a science did not really formulate into the 1800s as well. So here's the thing. The first bone attributed to a Megalosaurus is in your leg. You have the upper leg bone called the femur. The lower part of the femur is kind of shaped like this. And so they found a lower femur in England in the 1600s, and the first assumption was it was possibly the lower leg of a war elephant. Because when the Romans went to England, and there were no animals in England that big, naturally, and so if their elephants were there, then there's this remain. The same guy said, well, or it could be a biblical giant. You know, either or. That was the idea. Later on, the drawing of the leg, of the lower leg bone, was kept, and someone named it, gave it for a scientific name. It was literally called human scrotumus. The idea was that it looked to someone in the 1700s like a human scrotum, so they named it that. But the picture was so well done that even modern paleontologists can look at it and go, oh yeah, that's probably Megalosaurus. So that's kind of his first foray. We begin finding parts of them. I actually can show you this. So the more modern example, because when you see the name Megalosaurus, it is often associated with William Buckland. And Buckland is a really well-known paleontologist and a religious leader. And I'm going to explain in a minute. They found something like this, the front part of the jawbone. And Buckland was one of those early people in paleontology trying to figure out what was going on with Richard Owen and all those guys, Mantel. And he identified it as a reptile. The name Megalosaurus means big lizard because this is, bear in mind, he named it in the name that we recognize is 1824. The term dinosaur wasn't coined until 1842. And so it was named before we knew it was a dinosaur. So with it being seen as a reptile, that's the big thing here is that, think about the world in the 1800s, people, actually in England, they didn't even know what a Komodo dragon was. They knew crocodiles from Rome and alligators from the Americas, but they had no idea what a giant Komodo dragon looked like. And so they're saying it's a reptile, and if it's a reptile, therefore it is low to the ground, it is very long, and if the jaw is like this big, the animal must be this giant, like lizard-looking thing, like this, right? I'm drawing it out for you while I'm describing it because this is a very quickly drawn, thrown together image, and I'm gonna just say it like that, and then do more leg. Look at that. It's all the things. There's toes and all that, and so this is the image that we kind of associate with the Crystal Palace. So you see something like this. So he's like, this is this critter because it's a large reptile. Now, after that, or around that time, people are finding bones of other dinosaurs in their hips particularly, and they're noticing the bones suggest the animal walking more upright than more sprawled. See, alligators, or reptiles in general, alligators, crocodiles, and so on, they're like, our hip bones go straight down as humans, and many mammals, theirs go out to the side. And so based on how the femur put into the hip, they were like, this is an upright animal. So Megalosaurus' earliest reputation was like this picture here. But at the time, more specimens found, we realized it was more than one look. Now, what's really cool, the toys here, or the models, is that this one here is my first Megalosaurus figure. It is a Collect A, of course. They always do this channel's become like a commercial for Collect A, all different exotic species, and it is, there's no year, no, there's a year, 2009. And so this one is, frankly, not a great model. The reason I mean, it's better than it could be, but the reason I bought it was I had no Megalosaurus. It was a very, very important iconic animal living in the middle of the mid-Jurassic, about 160 million years ago. And so it's a really important fauna, and I wanted to have one at least, right? It's the first one on the market. And so things to point out with it that it has correct is that, yeah, it has 2 limbs, 2 legs, 2 arms, tail, head, all the parts are there. The toes, there are 3 toes on the front, there's 1 duke on the back. There are 3 fingers on the hand. But of course this guy, which is, for 2008, that's pretty bad to have that far in, has like the Jurassic Park hands, which is not correct. The skull is, we found parts of the skull, and so the idea of it having a quote, generic look of a theropod, whatever that means, that's passable. And Megalosaur, of course, is the name of his own group. Now, the parts that are bad, of course, are the posture. Other than the hands, again, being like this, not like that. The posture of the animal should be more horizontal, like our later models here. And the tail, like I said, it shouldn't be that close to the ground, but that's a part of the posture, so I won't give it double points, strike off. But again, it was the only one I could find. If you have this one at home, cherish it. Then we move forward to, I believe, Collect Day again, and the year is 2020. So in just 11 years, you go from this to this. It's a little bit behind paleontology as a whole. We kind of realized they were horizontal before this time, but who knows? Toy designers often talk to us. And so this guy has this look here, and this one has all the parts. The hand is palm to palm. It has, it's kind of small, which I don't like that, but I get that many companies, when they're doing exotic species, they make the figures smaller so it can cost less because it may not sell as much as a T-Rex or Triceratops or a Velociraptor. And so I think, scientifically speaking, this is the best model of the collection because obviously it's a newer, more advanced model. Now, that being said, we move to our Jurassic Park, Jurassic World version. And the idea with this guy is very clear. I have been hinting at Megalosaurus in other videos this last 6 months, but when I saw this was coming out, I was like, this is our guy. Now, with the official scissors of Jurassic James, I'm going to release my newest Megalosaurus. I'm actually kind of super excited because I'm not super excited about the Jurassic World figures in the sense that they are not always accurate, but the fact that there's a figure here of they're species that no one knows about or hears about. So that alone to me is worth something. Let's see. And so we reach in the thing and put the tail out. Oh, it's the Epic Evolution. You rotate the thing. I'll show you in a minute how it works and all that. Okay, so same rules apply. Put this in there, turn until click. Oh, there's upside. Oh, that's weird. It has these scales. Like there's okay. So in biology, the top of the animal is called the dorsal. The bottom is called the ventral. The front's called the anterior, and the back is the posterior. So these terms aren't really unheard of. So on the ventral side, you can see this row of scales on both sides here. That's kind of neat. I don't know. It's not scientifically supported, but it's just neat. So first thing I'm going to point out, I'm looking at is the stance is really nice. The tail's decent enough. The scale pattern always varies. I don't really care about that much. Unless we have skin impressions of certain animals, and we don't have skin impressions that I'm aware of Megalosaurus, so I don't care about that part. The hands are pretty good because they are, again, palm to palm. It does have this little crest here we see in Allosaurids, and of course the Megalosaurs and the Allosaurs are different groups. But now I don't recall if they found that part of the skull, so I can't be like, they don't have it. And again, signaling, by the mid-Jurassic, we would see these features still because Dilophosaurus is an early Jurassic and it has those, well, some will have the crest, And so its gimmick, of course, you lift this, oh, I'm getting it. There it goes. There's your DNA code, and then there's a wheel here. So it's like a hatcheting action. Okay, cool. So that's it for the nutshell. So again, pretty cool model. I like the skin texture. Again, the texture of the skin of Megalosaurus. We have found duckbill, hadrosaur skin. We have found Triceratops skin. But the skin of a Megalosaurus that I'm aware of is not known. It is the beginning. Well, I want to point out that I'm looking at this animal saying it lived way back in the middle Jurassic. But remember, when it lived, there is no late Jurassic Cretaceous. Time is moving forward. And so this is like one of the biggest predators on land. This is like the quote, if dinosaurs had died out after this point, this would have been our T-Rex. This would have been the animal that everyone looks up to and going, this giant thing that's over. And the estimation is between 20 and 30 feet, depending on who you talk to, which book you read, which paper you read. Because given the parts there, they find there's estimations that way. Once we know it looks like this and not like this. Anyway, so Megalosaurus, you might notice that when you are reading papers or books or history of different species of dinosaur, when they are first discovered, many species all over the world, they'll say, Megalosaurus? And then the name changes to like something else. That's because this is the first big dinosaur genus. And so the term for what happened in that situation is called a wastebasket, as in trash can, taxon, meaning that when everyone kind of just throws a name in there to the same animal. Since then, since the 2000s at least, there's an understanding that Megalosaurs are its own genus. The bones that we have of the individuals are enough to say this is its own thing. They're separate from everyone else. But a lot of people will still name a new species, Megalosaurus, over the last like 50, 100 years, you know. And so it has been argued that Megalosaurs really are the group that are found mainly in England or Europe, and that Megalosaurs don't live beyond that. But when it comes to family trees, I will say pretty confidently the closest member in toy world we have to Megalosaurus is an animal called Eustreptospondylus. So if you saw Walking with Dinosaurs, the Jurassic Jurassic Sea version, you saw this figure. This is the one I bought from a museum gift shop. It's into the company though. 2001, made in China. It has TS and a sun around it, so that's cool. So this is actually the exact model of Eustreptospondylus that's seen in the Dinosaur. Whoa, what is it called again? My goodness. My brain just went numb. Anyway, Walking with Dinosaurs. There it is. If you hold on long enough, your brain will scan, you'll figure it out. So here is that model exactly. Here is I'm guessing Collect A, based on history. Procon, Procon, Con, 2007, of Eustreptospondylus and other Megalosaurus. So these guys are considered the closest relatives of Megalosaurus. Now, the Megalosaurid group, many other dinosaurs, some other Tyrannosaurs, some Allosaurids, some even Spinosaurids, when first discovered, were thought to be Megalosaur relatives. But a lot of those guys have been established in their own groups, but I will say that in many other cases, there's an animal, and these are from Europe, particularly England, Afrovenator, known for his large poofy hair. Now, Afrovenator is from Africa. It means Venator means hunter, as we saw last week with Neovenator. And this guy is a Collect A 2010 predator, and so it is a Megalosaur found in Africa, right? Meanwhile, in South America, we already did the Pedinskysaurus video. This is Jurassic World from this year, 2023. And in China, we have it's spelled with an X, but it's Wantunosaurus, and this guy's from China. So we're seeing this Megalosaurus family. And remember, this is the mid-Jurassic, so Pangea is just breaking up. So remember, Pangea forms fully in the Permian, it's solid in Jurassic, and begins breaking up in the beginning of the Jurassic. And so it's still pretty close together, so there's common ancestry that may have spread across the world, but we know that the Megalosaurid group, again, has been argued to be found primarily in England. Now, that being said, the last thing to point out, as far as food goes, contemporaries, relatives? No, not relatives. Animals that live with it. Contemporaries, ecology. Many of them are not toys, except for this guy here. This is a Centosaurus. Centosaurus is the first sauropod recognized in modern science, long-named dinosaur. Cento means whale, that's in cetacean. Whales and dolphins are in that group. And Centosaurus means it's a whale-like lizard, because it's a really long, again, this guy, I think, is like 40 feet, 45, but that's before we knew about Diplodocus or Argentinosaurus. That was huge, especially in England. And so we have this guy here. This is the British Museum model of 14 meters. So this guy here basically is something I had to find out online. The British Museum made these I think in the 70s, if I remember correctly. 83. And so they made these, essentially their version of scientific scale models. I've shown them before, my other sauropods. And of course here is the more toy version of it, the Collect A 2008 Centosaurus. So these guys are contemporaries. These guys lived together in the mid-Jurassic of England. And again, not to scale, but the idea that this would have been the most likely prey of this guy, or at least scavenging. So that's Megalosaurus in a nutshell. Again, it's a weird history, a long history, but it's just kind of weird that there is only, that I'm aware of, there are only 3 toys of this guy, other than like small like models that are glued together. But it's pretty decent. Again, scientifically speaking, I would suggest getting this one from Collect A. If you just want a really cool thing to fight your other dinosaurs in Jurassic World life, get this guy here. But again, that's pretty much for Megalosaurus. I'll see you guys next week. Oh, if you like the drawing thing, tell me that. Yes, no, maybe so, if you like that. Or if it was annoying and slowed the video down, tell me that too.